All right, thank you, Chuck. Today I am presenting about the resurvey of Haggard Cave. I know some of y'all have already seen this presentation, but it hasn't been given at a TCS meeting, so here we are again giving it. So we're going to talk about the history of the cave itself, the survey, the pictures, the best part, the finished product, and then the current access for the cave. So the TCS has it first listed in '74 from the narrative. And it's likely that it's known before then because there used to be an old home site, the Haggard family right above it. But that's our first record of it. So obviously the narrative is a brief description of how to get there, where it's at. It says there's 2 entrance pits, and then it says about 1,000 feet cave, a little more than that. And in the 70s, we see Chattanooga Grotto, led by Mark Walensky, go and survey the cave. And this is the typical 1970s map, showing the shape of the cave, basic overview, how to do it. Got the entrance pit depths on there. I was able to talk to Mark about it. He said the whole thing was done using fishing line and protractors to get all their angles on it. So you can guess the quality of it. So a couple years ago, the land was listed for sale. It sat there for a long time because it's a rocky hillside that you really can't do much with. Back in 2017, some cavers took notice and said, hey, there's a pretty nice cave on there. Why don't we try to get it? They asked around. A couple different organizations didn't want to buy it. And so they said, well, we'll buy it ourselves and figure out what to do with it there. So this crowdsourced funding was undertaken, and they're raising enough money from grottos and cavers all over the place to purchase the cave. So once it was purchased, it was donated to the NSS to manage as one of their nature preserves. So with that being done, everybody said, oh, we need a resurvey. There's more passage there than what that old map shows. And I kept hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And so our first survey trip was, I believe, 2018. And most of the survey trips were able to happen in 2018. And we had a pretty good time doing it. It was a survey as you go project for me, even though pretty much all of the cave had already been visited by somebody. It was very helpful to have people who knew the cave well when I was there surveying, because they could say, oh, this doesn't go far, oh, we need to focus on this, this will loop around. And we were able to do it in just 10 survey trips, about 200 man hours on the ground. And there's some more stats on that. So here's kind of a typical day of surveying in there, me getting confused about stuff, and other people just kind of looking around and being confused as well. It was mostly folks from the Dogwood City Grotto, because that's where I'm stationed at currently down in Atlanta. But here's everybody who's able to come out and help. We had people from all over the place. Yeah. Here's another classic picture of Haggard Cave, just kind of lots of breakdown everywhere. Big rocks, kind of vertically developed, but it's a horizontal cave and some multi-layer stuff that gets real interesting. So here's the entrance pit. This is about a 30-foot pit. And it's a very nice drop, extremely easy to do. You can rig the tree right above the pit. It goes straight down. You're next to the wall, so it's a super easy pit. Go ahead and do a little crawlway, and then you get to this thing. And this is about a 15-foot pit, and it's not super easy or nice. There are some bolts up there now. We tried rigging it with a ladder, hoping it would make it easier because it's a bad lift. It wasn't any better, but it wasn't any worse. So you can bring the cable ladder, and it's still pretty bad. So this is kind of us swinging the cable ladder, trying to pull it away from breaking off formations. And it worked. We got down and got back out on it. So from there, you kind of drop into a pop through, and then it starts to open up some. This is kind of the entrance, first big room that you get to. Lots of formations throughout the cave everywhere. And one thing unique about Haggard Cave is, yes, there's a main passage, but then there's all these little offshoots that don't really go anywhere or loop around, and tons of neat stuff to see. So you jump into a hole, and it's a 60-foot loop, but there's all these formations down there. So it's a really neat cave to visit. This is, I believe, the biggest room in there. You can see our packs down at the bottom, somebody standing up top. There's 2 passages going off the top, and there's one going off the bottom down in here. And all 3 of them loop back together later on. So here's another formation gallery in there. It's like a little Christmas tree farm that you get to swerve your way through, trying not to snap off too much stuff. But it has had a fair amount of traffic. So there's pretty worn paths on the best routes to go through all of that stuff. Here's some more of the formations. This one looks like a nice dragon. Big scaly dragon covered in popcorn. And then as you get towards the back, you get into a lot of crawlways that are kind of optional. And some of them are low and not so nice, but some of them are pleasant and lead to popcorn covered passages. And here's another one. This really big formation is shown on the old map. That's kind of a key landmark. Well, what is a big formation? That's a really big formation. It's about 20 feet diameter, just big flowstone coming out of the ceiling. Another close-up of a cluster of popcorn on the wall. Another one of the big rooms. Keep in mind the colors don't actually look like that. It's not red and purple in there. Mostly brown, tan, but lots of brown. This is an interesting formation here. This is called the Fickle Finger of Fate. And there's kind of two routes. There's a high route and a low route to go there. And the Fickle Finger of Fate is an 8-foot totem. And it's not connected at the top, and it's in the middle of the passage. And I don't know how it's still standing there. Because as you can see, there's not much room to get around it. But somehow, it's still there. So here you go. Keep an eye out for the Fickle Finger of Fate. Another close-up of some of the formations in there. Alright. So the finished map is in the TCS map book that Kyle has for sale back there. You can purchase today. It did receive a merit award in the first ever web map category at the 2019 convention. The total horizontal length was 5815, so it is a over a mile long cave. It's a little bit longer than the 1326 that was shown on the old map, about 4.5 times longer. And the old depth was 107 feet. We were able to increase that to 148. So a little bit of a change, but not too much. And this is what that finished product looks like. A little more complex. It's about 3 feet by 5 feet just to try to show all the detail. And as you can see, it is a multi-level canyon. So most places have about 3 levels. I think the most complex level is about 6 in one area. And they all go to the same place. Everything loops back into itself except for tiny offshoots. But for the most part, you can just walk in circles in there. So here's the entrance series. Like I said, it's a nice 30-foot pit to a short little crawlway to a 15-foot pit that's bolted. And then you got some formations down there. And there's occasionally a handful of bats, but not many in that area. There's just a couple other kind of more remote places in the cave. There's a lot of fossils back in the back, the lower levels. Some interesting domes. There's some active domes and some inactive domes. And you look up and you're like, I wonder what's up there.
You can figure it out.
And then you go up 2 levels and then you're at the top of the dome. So the water's just coming out of cracks in the ceiling and you can climb it, but you're just going to go up to the upper level where you can walk. Here's some more offshoots. These Z-dome passages are kind of one of the only offshoots that's shown on the old map. I don't know why only that one's shown, but it's interesting that there's additional domes. It's kind of a infeeder to the system. It's not part of the main trunk of the passage. And here's one of those rather complex areas where you can go one of 6 ways and they all lead to the same place. So just wander around and have fun with it. Like I was saying, there's all these little offshoots, kind of like this and over there, and that lower stream stuff that you kind of poke your head into and say, oh, hey, this looks nice, and then keep going. But it makes for a fun cave. We have 42 cross sections on there, so it does a decent job of showing the passage. And then this back area, we think may have been virgin. It was rather difficult to get into, and it was a nasty stream crawl to get in the back. And the cave terminates in just kind of these muddy domes that are not nice and falling in.
The kind of stuff you typically like to survey.
Yeah. Pretty normal for me. But if we look at the overlay of the cave, there's this nice sinkhole back over there, kind of towards the end of the cave, but it's too far away to be real related. This feature right here is a sinkhole in somebody's front yard that takes a lot of water. So it's likely that that water comes into the cave at some point, but it may be too high, it may go somewhere else. We don't really know, and we can't get into that cave to make it go.
Hey John, for people back here that can't tell, where's the high area of your thing, where's the low area?
The high area is that corner in the white, the
Okay.
low area is this corner in the blue.
All right, thank you.
So it's kind of spun around there to make it fit better.
That's fine.
Then was is able to do a 3D model of it. So as you can see, rather complex stuff, multi-level. Here's that big sinkhole I was talking about up here, and keep spinning it. But once you get down from the entrance areas, the cave stays fairly deep below the surface. The water will come out in the river at the bottom of the hill. We'll see in just a minute. So the current access, it is an NSS Nature Preserve. There's 21 of those, if you don't know. The parcel's and it's mostly unusable, so there's really no point in developing out there. We've got 24 neighbors out there, which is a lot, but we get along with most of them. At least we think we do. So here's the property and the cave, and as you can see, we just own the entrance. The NSS doesn't own most of the land that the cave is under, but we got the entrance, and that's the important part for us. So here's the river down here. If you go this way, about where that's at, and it's just right up on the hill above there. So if you're interested in visiting the cave, send an email to haggardcommittee@caves.org. There is a 6-person maximum, and 1 vehicle max. Parking is a little tricky right now. We lost our main parking access, but we're working on more. So you've got to park on the side of the road, but it's doable, and it's a great cave during bad weather. If you go on a very rainy day, even worse than today, the only spot you're going to get wet is the first entrance pit, because that's open air, and the second entrance pit's got a little trickle, and other than that, you can stay dry. Any questions?